Hi, I'm Michael Biddle. This is my Assessment 1A video-based practical task from case study. I've chosen number 1, the rugby union prop, and the 1 rep max squat test. Rugby player lower body strength assessment, the 1 rep max squat test. Our investigation will go as follows. First, we'll look at the validity and reliability of the 1 repetition back squat and how it might carry over to the rugby field. We'll investigate the setup, calibration and considerations when undertaking a 1 rep max squat. We'll discuss the scoring and data collection methods for the 1 repetition squat test. We'll interpret and compare testing data from normative values in the literature. And finally, we'll make practical applications and recommendations from the data on a training intervention for our rugby player and discuss how we might help him improve performance to become a first grade player. Reliability of the 1 repetition maximum strength test. McGill et al. In 2013 study found that reliability to be how easily repeatable the testing protocol and its variables are across tests and retest conditions. The 1 rep max squat test is a simple test of maximal lower body strength. It's easy to duplicate and reproduce. This lower body strength assessment has many advantages in that the test is a compound joint movement assessment. It's easy to undertake safely and has been used across the literature when investigating lower body maximal strength in rugby union players. Grick et al. In his 2020 systematic review of 32 studies found the 1 rep max squat test to be a moderate to excellent measure of reliability in assessing maximal lower body strength in test-retest conditions across healthy population, whatever training status, familiarity or gender they were. This research also identifies a test-retest medium reliable interclass correlation coefficient, an ICC, of as high as 0.097. The 1 rep max squat test can be affected by methodology and biological factors during the test. This is known as the static or interference in the test and can be referred to as the typical measure of error. This typical error is reflected in the medium coefficient variable. Grick found in his systematic review the coefficient variable of the 1 rep max testing to be as low as 4.2%. It's useful to understand the relevance and relationship of the coefficient variable to the smallest worthwhile change. Smallest worthwhile change can be estimated by multiplying the standard deviation of the sample by 0.02, and this is supported in the research. We can use the smallest worthwhile gain to gain a more accurate measure of true performance or worthwhile changes from test to test. We can use the measure of smallest worthwhile change for incremental weight jump estimates required during 1 rep max testing, so to make it seen as a true max rep test. Validity of 1 rep max squat testing. When investigating the validity of the 1 rep max squat test, the question is, does the test measure what it's intended to? And in this instance, that's maximal lower body strength. And can increases in maximal lower body strength carry over onto the rugby field? To understand if there's carryover, we need to understand the demands of rugby union on the athlete. And to look further into this, we need to understand if those demands of rugby may benefit from an increase in a 1 rep max squat. Batchoff offers a link between rugby union repeat high intensity events followed by short active rests. He purports that a greater ability to maintain repeat effort performance on the footy field had a moderate correlation to a higher 1 rep max back squat. Durigan, in his 2019 study, asserts rugby also demands short, sharp line-bursting runs and powerful jumps in line-outs, has high impacts and large volumes of force on forwards as a result of collisions during game play. Mills furthers this by proposing that these sustained repeat efforts of scrums, rucks and mauls can last up to 20 seconds duration and bring forces of up to 1650 newtons in all 3 planes of motion on a forward's body. All areas where improvements in the back squat will help on the field. Owen, in 2020, in their review, found that first grade players consistently have a higher 1 rep back squat than lower participants, thus higher muscular strength must be important to higher levels of rugby union gameplay. Investigation of setup, calibration and undertaking of a 1 repetition squat test. As outlined by the Australian Institute of Sport 2022 position statement on the national protocols for assessment of power and strength, specifically for the back squat. Athlete preparation. So there needs to have a break from training 72 hours before testing. The athlete should arrive prepared to undertake the test, injury and fatigue free. The testing process should be explained and questions about the protocol discussed, such as the athlete's perceived or known 1RM. Other hazards prior to the test and any extra screening needs to be complete along with an informed consent form signed by the athlete. The test is to be supervised by an ASCA level 2 or 3 strength coach. Equipment preparation. So using calibrated scales, we'll weigh the plates, the bar, the collars to make sure the accuracy of the test equipment. Make sure our safety bars are set to a height that doesn't affect the athlete's range of motion. Heel blocks should not be used. If they're going to be used, they need to be recorded in the data. Use of a weight belt is optional, but again, if it's used, it needs to be reported in the data. The athlete, to begin the test, engages in a neutral stance with his feet approximately shoulder width apart. The bar is held in the high back position on the trapezius. The hands should hold the bar comfortable position, and the participant should be ready to go. Testing protocol. Once the weight has been removed from the rack, the athlete must lower to where the thighs are parallel to the floor, with the knees travelling over the toes and the heels on the floor at all time. The knees, the hips, then extend to the standing with the trunk upright. You record the 1 rep max in kilograms. So test sets. Add the estimated 1 rep weight to the bar and squat as per the protocol. Minimum weight increases should be greater than the smallest standard worthwhile change and guided by the ease of each rep by the participant. The participant will have up to 4 attempts to complete a 1 rep max with 5 minutes rest between each set. Weight can be added to the bar upon each completed successful set, and the athlete's body mass is then recorded at the end of the session and calibrated on calibrated scales so the testing can be the same time to time. Things to consider during the test. Technical violations. The following are violations that result in the rep being deemed a no rep and another attempt required. Excessive forward or sideways movement from the athlete, excessive knee valgus as deemed by the S&C coach, loss of spinal position controls, heels coming up off the ground, not going deep enough to parallel, raising the hips before the shoulders during the initial drive up, and taking more than 3 seconds to complete a rep. Beginning the test. A general warm-up on a bike or ski ergo of 5 minutes at 100 watts will be undertaken by the athlete. A 5-minute active recovery will then be allowed for the athlete to go over any warm-up stretching strategy prior to testing. After that, exercise-specific warm-up of squats will be as followed. Set 1 will be 10 reps at 40 to 60% predicted 1 RM, 2 minutes rest. Set 2 will be 5 reps at 60 to 70% predicted 1 RM, 2 minutes rest. Set 3 will be again 5 reps at 70 to 80% predicted 1 rep max, then 2 minutes rest. And then finally set 4 will be 90% of predicted 1 RM at 1 to 3 reps. A rest will then be taken, and then the protocol will be undertaken as per outlined on the previous slide. Scoring and data collection for the 1 repetition max squat test will be recorded in kilograms, and the highest attempt successfully achieved with correct technique will be accepted as the 1 rep max. So, interpret and compare testing data to normative values in the literature. Here we have Table 1, which offers a comparison of 1 rep max squat performance in first grade players and higher to our case study participant. It's evident from across the literature that rugby union athletes who participate in professional levels demonstrate consistently a greater 1 rep max squat than those counterparts in lower grade. From Table 1, our participant seems to be very poor in a squat performance compared to the current first grade and higher level performers, and our goal is to help make our participant a first grade player, so it would be advantageous to develop a training protocol to improve 1 rep max scores in the future for our participants. Level 2 offers a resistance training program for our participant over the next 4 weeks, 3 sessions a week of both upper and lower body strength and hypertrophy training, so that we may begin building on our strength training in the future. It offers another look at the next 4 weeks of a training prescription for lower body hypertrophy and strength. Be on a 2 and 2 times a week. We look at table 3 and 4 together, where we have an upper and lower body split. Or offers a resistance training prescription for upper body hypertrophy that goes along with table 3. Table 5 offers a resistance training program for lower body maximal strength to be completed after the initial first 2 stages, and it will be completed with the information on table 6. This is a lower body split for maximum strength exposure. Table 6 offers the prescription for upper body maximal strength, alternating with table 5, the information in table 5. Reference list.